Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maya, and today I have a quick little greeting card painting video for you all. I used a mixture of Turner and Holbein acrylic gouache for this piece, and I also used a couple of my swirl brushes. This is another video about one of my Valentine's card designs. I have now posted all the videos I have for these designs, so next I'll probably move on to some baby cards and a couple of thank you cards. And then I'll start to work on cards for Easter and then the spring equinox that's coming up in a few months. The plan is to hopefully sprinkle in at least one video of an oil painting or gouache portrait as well within the next month. I have a few works in progress that have been sitting on the back burner for a bit too long, and I really need to get some of those done just for my own sanity. So, with this painting, I used a different technique when it came to mixing my colors. I typically just use the primary colors, reds, blues, yellows, etc. You know, just those basic colors that you're probably used to seeing on a classic paint palette. But I decided to switch it up this time, and I experimented with some CMYK type of color mixing. This method of mixing colors is mostly used when printing, so like screen printing or just a home printer printing off a picture for you. From what I understand, printing something requires a more limited range of colors, so that's why if you're exporting a piece to print, it's best to export as a CMYK versus if you're just posting it online. You can use RGB because if you're viewing something online, you have access to a wider range of colors than a printer does because eyeballs. CMYK limits your color palette a ton. You just can't mix the same amount of colors as you would typically be able to if you were following a traditional RGB color palette, which can mix a lot of different colors, like several million. So earlier when I said I tried painting with this CMYK type of color mixing method, I really just used those colors. I did not layer it the way you would layer it if you were properly following a CMYK method, like starting with a white background and then glazing the different colors over top of each other. I just don't have any interest in doing layers upon layers of colors that way. It seems too tedious for me and I just don't really have the patience to do it. But what I noticed when I painted with the CMYK colors is that it was easier for me to focus on making my colors more vibrant. Which makes sense because I mixed the colors I needed for this piece from colors that were already incredibly vibrant. But overall, the colors of this piece made me really happy. Another thing I did with this piece that I really liked was the highlights that I added to the jam jar and the blackberries. I used blue to kind of show that it wasn't a glass jar, and then I added another layer of an even lighter blue just to add some more reflections to the jar and make it look a little bit more like stylized glass. And I needed to also use that color somewhere else in the piece. It just felt empty without it being a recurring color somewhere else. So I decided that the best place for it would be on the blackberries. Blackberries kind of have blue highlights from the light bouncing off of them, and so I decided that would be the perfect place to put this same blue color at. And when I painted the label on the jam jar, I wanted to add some cute little hearts on the label since this was a Valentine's card. I also kinda chicken scratched on the label to make it look more rustic. It was an experiment that I was gonna paint over if it didn't look good, but I was actually surprised that I liked how it looked. It was hard though to force myself to chicken scratch like that. Probably the hardest part of the piece actually. I grew out of that a long time ago, so I kind of had to force my hand to stop being steady. So I floated it in a weird angle just to make my arm waver a little bit to achieve that look. So after I was done with the main subject of the piece and painting the words, I thought it looked kind of empty still. So I decided to add some small hearts to the background, and at that point, it looked finished. So if you're interested in prints of this greeting card, I have them available on my Etsy page. I also have 2 of them in physical stores in Wyoming if you're in those areas. The first is the Wild Bison Flea Market and Farm Stand located in Laramie, Wyoming. The second is the 307 Prairie Pantry located in Douglas, Wyoming. I hope you enjoyed this video and my yapping. I'll be back on Thursday with another video for everybody. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye!